And in Clio Cup Series, this championship which has given some dramatic racing over the course of the season and indeed over the course of the weekend. Yesterday's race was a lively affair. It was won by Nicolas Milan, much to the chagrin of his teammate and customer, Anthony Girardot. But Anthony Girardot will go into this race perhaps able to turn the tables. That said, he's got work to do because he's only 8th on the 1x1 staggered grid. Clio Cup Series is a championship which incorporates other championships. So on this grid, you've got people scoring points in Clio Cup Europe. You've got people scoring points in Clio Cup Eastern Europe and Clio Cup France as well. Within the French part of the championship, you've got David Pujay versus Nicolas Milan. As far as Eastern Europe is concerned, it is Marc Guillot taking on Anthony Girardot. And as far as Europe is concerned, Nicolas Milan largely is the man to beat there. In terms of race wins, as you look at Nicolas Milan, yesterday's winner starting on pole position, and this grid, by the way, is based on a separate qualifying session. Nicolas Milan now has had 4 wins in the French Championship, and thanks to yesterday's results, 4 in the European Series. Marc Guillot has had 3 wins in the Eastern European Championship. He lines up, there he is, 2nd on the grid. And other race winners this year are David Pujay, who's had 1 win in the European Championship and 5 wins in the French. Anthony Girardot, 4 victories within the European Series. And certainly a candidate for plenty of action over the next 25 minutes plus 1 lap. The race duration 25 minutes with the regulation lap at the end of it. Then number 125, Jerzy Spinkovic, who qualified on pole position for yesterday's race. He was the winner of the Challengers Cup yesterday for the under 25-year-old drivers, and very much a force to be reckoned with, Jerzy Spinkovic, as he gets set to go. He will start 3rd in the Unique Racing car, and then 4th on the grid for the JSB Competition team, Julien Brichet's team, here running GT4 cars as well as Clios, is Jean Leneutre, who is, again, a driver that is increasingly competitive. He gets faster and faster every time we see the ex-kart racer, and Leneutre ready to go. Then 5th on the grid, David Pujay, as the last couple of cars make their way into position. So trickling into place the stragglers. There is David Pujay, who is the man behind GPA Racing. Last year, the championship, the European Championship, turned into a big battle between him and Nicolas Milan, but Nicolas prevailed. David Pujay is a 3-time Peugeot champion. He's the former Spanish champion, runner-up with 4 wins in the Clio Cup Europe last year. And there, another of the challengers and a customer of GPA is Alexandre Alboy, who was spectacular yesterday, way up onto 2 wheels, coming through the stadium part of the circuit. Now Alexandre Alboy will be taking the fight to Jerzy Spinkovic. Of course, they've got that isolated Challengers Cup contest in which yesterday Spinkovic won from Alboy, and the 3rd of the challengers was Guillaume Mayo. But they quite like an overall result out of this as well. Alexandre Finkelstein, number 29, another of the drivers from the GPA Racing stable. He lines up next on the grid. And Alexandre Finkelstein, another of the challengers. He scores points only within the French Championship. And there is number 5, Anthony Girardot. Now, last year, he was very, very quick, but picked up penalties quite regularly. He's sort of dialing out that wild man streak now, and the speed is still there. So Girardot, even though he didn't qualify brilliantly, he's only 8th on the grid. He will be a man to watch, no doubt about it, as he tries to forge a way forward. He is, as I say, scoring points in the European Championship, but he has also added Eastern Europe points to this, and he's had 3 victories in that, as well as the 3 wins for Marc Guillot. So Anthony Girardot looking for more points, more success across his 2 championships for which he is registered. At the very back of the grid is Frank Horn, who ended up in the gravel yesterday, car number 88, and the field, I think, is now set, ready to go. Thomas Pekar ready to get on board number 101. So it's the safety car sets off. The drivers then with a 5-minute board ahead of them. And there is Frank Horn's car out of the gravel after its travails of yesterday, sitting at the back of the grid. The French driver, part of the gentleman drivers contest that each of these regional championship has. Number 9 is Andreas Stooky, who has been a regular within the Swiss Clio Cup, the Central European Clio Cup, and Clio Cup of Bohemia. Prior to that, the Swiss driver. And gets set for race 2 of the weekend. And there, number 24 is Rejoignez-nous, who's back after giving that car over to Julien Pujay for a few races earlier on in the season. So Rejoignez ready to go. Their treble 7 coming next on the grid. That is Fabian Frazzo, whose father used to race Clios and Renault 5 turbos going back quite a few years. But Fabian Frazzo, his debut, his father racing in the 80s and 90s. And in yesterday's race, he got himself, Fabian Frazzo, to 19th place. Nikola Milkovic for the Tempo Racing team, next on the grid, 14th. And looking further down on the grid, after the car of Milkovic will be, hopefully, Stefan Polderman, the Chefo Sport car of the Dutch driver that got turned around yesterday, picked up some damage. One driver not taking part today is the French driver Cédric Delcroix for GPA Racing, who annoyed the steward yesterday after contact with the Chinese driver, Chen Han Lin, after contact out on the circuit. There is Stefan Polderman, whose car is there. And 632, further back on the grid, is Mathieu Rugley, driving for the Vic team. Mathieu Rugley, former historic single-seater racer, and drove in old Formula Renault chassis prior to coming into what you might call a modern type of Renault, and a very different sort of style of racing in this compared to single-seaters. So Mathieu Rugley ready to go. Marc Florell, another newcomer, former French international karting champion. Intercontinental A was the class he won a few years back, Marc Florell, so good to have him joining the championship this weekend. In 1, 2, 3 is Pierre Monmenix, another of the GPA Racing drivers. His first season in Clio, former mechanic for a Formula regional team. Now going racing himself. See a little dent or two on the side of Monmenix's car. So we await then the 3-minute board. Guillaume Maillot, a long, long way back on the grid. Guillaume Maillot, number 19. So poor qualifying yesterday for the former Peugeot Sport Young Timer Cup winner. He's done quite a bit of racing, not only in Clios, but also in French GT over the years, Guillaume Maillot. And number 50 there you're looking at is the Finnish driver Juuso Pantila, who drove in the V1600 Championship in his native Finland last season before coming into Clios. Right, everybody now being told to clear the grid. The 1-minute board finally being shown. Engines fire up, and they'll get one formation lap to get some warmth into the Michelin rubber, and then they'll slot back into place on the grid, ready for 25 minutes of racing. So the field good to go. The grid is, as I say, complete, other than the demise of Cédric Delcroix, the former Peugeot racer. Yesterday there was a coming together which was, I think, 3 cars tangling, one of whom was the Chinese Taipei driver Chen Han Lin, and Delcroix thought it was all down to Chen Han Lin and made his feelings clear as they headed back to the pit lane with their damage, and for his antics he has been benched for today. So the green flag is waved. The cars make their way now around this 4.5 kilometre long circuit, ready for the second race of the weekend in Clio Cup Series. As I say, European points on offer, French points on offer, Eastern European Championship points on offer, depending on which of the different championships you have registered for. You don't score blanket across all three. You've got to register in advance for which ones you do at the start of the season. So the formation lap underway then, and it's going to be a 25-minute race then, plus that regulation lap at the end. So the front of the grid is where you find Nicolas Milan and Marc Guillot. The second row, Jerzy Spinkovic and Jean Leneutre. And then on the third row, David Pujay and Alexandre Alboy. It's Alexandre Finkelstein sharing row 4 with Anthony Girardot. Definitely a man to watch. Row 5, Thomas Picard and the rapid Leo Jusset for company, ahead of Andreas Stooky and Aurélien Renet next on the grid. Row 7 is where you find Fabian Frazzo and Nikola Milkiovic. The 8th row of the grid, Stefan Polderman and Mathieu Rugley, ahead of Marc Florell and Pierre Monmenix. The 10th row, Guillaume Maillot and Justo Pantila. Behind them come Jeremy Bordegaray, and then the SE Corsa car of Jacopo Giuseppe Jimenez. Row 12, Quinto Stefana and Laurent Ziadous alongside him. The 13th row is Henrik Seibel's Carpec service-entered car, and Philip Sandström, the former junior champion out of the Swedish Championship, debut in the European Series. Chen Hanlin and Leonor Viguet come next, ahead of Michel Fay, who had a spin yesterday, and René Steenmetz, who missed yesterday's race but has a new engine in the car now. Frank Horn and Benjamin Courvas complete the grid. So that's how they line up, 32 of them ready for this 25-minute plus the regulation lap race, soon to get underway as the cars now turn their way up into the Spitzkehre. So making their way down then towards the stadium they come. Number 104 there, which is one of the cars sort of mid-grid with work to be done. Leo Jusset and Nicolas Milan, the reigning champion, picked up the Castrol backing this year and has this difficult task of trying to win a championship for himself, but also look after all of his customers who want to go with his team because of its success. And yesterday, Anthony Girardot was decidedly nonplussed at having been beaten. It was the most miserable-looking podium you could imagine. The pair of them not able to break a smile. Nicolas Milan feeling that he needed to placate Anthony Girardot, who was decidedly grumpy. They were discussing the race behind the podium and on the podium, and even one of the Milan representatives there to get the team's trophy had to sort of say, look, you know, let's talk about this in the awning, as it were. But it was a very animated podium in terms of all the hand waving and hand signals, but not a smile was seen. So whether Anthony Girardot has slept on it and come back in a better frame of mind, we will see. But he'd love to win this, certainly from 8th on the grid, and don't bet against it because he's a very, very fiery driver. But Nicolas Milan, the man on pole position, knows exactly how to win races and championships and when to push and when not. He was Clio Cup France champion in 2009 and 2010. He was the European champion in 11, Spanish champion in 13, the French champion in 14, Spanish champion and French champion in 2018, and Spanish and French champion in 2020, and last year the Euro Cup European champion with 10 wins. So he is a serial title winner in Renault Clios, and of course he knows how to prepare the cars very well also. David Pujay, the equivalent at GPA Racing, he will start 5th on the grid in the white and yellow car. And as the grid now is formed, we are just about set to go racing then as the cars slot into position. The last few come out of turn 16. The one-by-one staggered grid, hopefully, will keep them apart from too much strife on the first lap. So Nicolas Milan on the outside line, the racing line, ready for the run down towards the first corner, awaits the 5-second board from the gantry. The last car into position now is Benjamin Courvas. Green flag waved at the back, and now the lights go red then. So 5 red lights will go on. When the lights go out, the race gets underway now. And lots of wheel spin from Milan this time, so a better start by Marc Guillot. And he's going to get the jump into the race lead. Jerzy Spinkovic will go second, I reckon, on the inside line there as they head into turn 1. And so Nicolas Milan dumped down to 3rd. It is indeed the white car of Guillot that leads. Milan is out wide. David Pujay's white and yellow car in 5th place then as they make the run up towards turn 2, the Bernie Ecclestone curve for the first time. So Marc Guillot, who has been a race winner in the Euro Cup in the past, leads the way, the former French champion. Spinkovic second, third is Milan as Pujay gets run out way wide there. Alboy gets ahead of him. The orange car of Thomas Picard up with Anthony Girardot. Out of turn 2, then now into this long left of the Parabolica for the first time. And there you can see Alexander Finkelstein coming under attack from David Pujay as the two of them run together up towards the Spitzkehrer. This is where you can get a tow, and that's exactly what Milan is doing off Spinkovic. He goes to the outside line there, the green, white, red car of Milan for second. A big wobble under braking from Guillot, but Spinkovic's on the inside line, hangs on to second place. And thanks to the tow, they've all concertinaed again into the braking zone. 3 of them way wide on exit of the hairpin. Stay on the tarmac, stay on the racing line, you'll gain ground out of all of that. As there, Girardot moves himself past Pujay now, coming down towards turn 7, but it's Guillot leading, Spinkovic second, Alboy on the outside of Milan for third. But Nicolas Milan goes through on the inside line and takes back the place then. So Milan third, despite having started on pole. He's dropped back, and drama in the background. We've lost one, certainly has had a spin. And there, facing the wrong way, is Mathieu Rigolet. The Vic team car gets going. Very much the Vic team out of all of that, but he rejoins the race, somewhat delayed, and the race leaders come now up towards the Sachs curve for the first time. Alboy, currently second in the Challengers Cup, 4th on the road, looking for a way past Nicolas Milan. And as the drivers then make the run into the right-hander of the Sud curve up towards the end of lap number 1, the field turns through in a race that yesterday had 2 safety car periods, early doors. So far, despite the drama, we have escaped too much strife on the opening lap. And the race leader, Marc Guillot, comes through then ahead of Jerzy Spinkovic in second place. 3rd is Milan. 4th is Alboy. 5th is Finkelstein. 6th is Girardot. 7th is Pujay. And then 8th is Leo Jusset. 9th is Thomas Picard. And 10th going well, Nikola Milkiovic. Now, what, if anything, can the likes of Girardot and Pujay do to get themselves back into the mix? I reckon Girardot is in the mix, in fact, because he's there now on the tail of the traffic ahead of him as they turn up to the hairpin, whereas you can see number 104 of Leo Jusset on the back of David Pujay. Into the pit lane has come Marc Fleurance and also Jean Leneutre, which is disappointing because Leneutre, remember, started 4th on the grid. And Mathieu Rigolet is in as well. So there is Leneutre's car. Rigolet comes past him. So 3 in the pits at the end of lap 1. And here's the leading gaggle, which is effectively the top 6. Milan goes to the outside line. Guillot's white car defends from Spinkovic as they dive into the hairpin. Girardot is up the inside of Finkelstein. Girardot with the blue and orange car leans a little bit on Finkelstein and forces him wide. Thomas Picard heads to Heidelberg in the orange entry, but skips back onto the circuit. Then he was way out wide there, as you saw. Girardot's got the inside line there. Goes 5th, does he, on the inside. Finkelstein gets forced off the racetrack, tries to stand his ground, but he can't. Milan has gone up to 2nd and a change for 3rd, and also Challengers Cup lead. Alboy goes ahead of Spinkovic now. Alexandre Alboy gains ground. Spinkovic's the big loser on this lap then as the cars weave their way up towards the completion of lap number 2. Girardot, as ever, is on his toes, pulls out of the draft, pulls back in again. Spinkovic and Alboy, the next 2 targets. There's a big squeal of tyres in the background, which you kind of expect in Clio racing as they come to the Sud curve in a moment. This is the Sachs curve, turn 13 in modern money, and there David Pujay accelerates now into turn 16. But Marc Guillot up front leads the way. Now, can he pull clear? Can he make the break over Nicolas Milan? As Girardot again hangs it out over the curb. Guillot comes up towards the timing line. This to put now at 2 laps in the book as he comes through. So down towards the first corner, Marc Guillot leads the margin 0.4 of a second over Nicolas Milan. The fastest lap of the race has been done by Anthony Girardot. Perhaps no surprise, we know that Girardot is quick, and if you can get a tow as well, then you're going to be back in the hunt for gaining places. The rest of the field file through turn 1. Here's the leading gaggle, and it stretches now, really, the top 8 all in a queue. Leo Jusset at the back of it. At the head, of course, is Marc Guillot as the field accelerate once more up towards the Spitzkehrer. 101 Thomas Picard currently down in 11th place, but looking to try to gain ground as the cars now head towards the hairpin once more. Milan on the attack for the race lead. Girardot is on the attack for 4th place, but Spinkovic has a wide car, a lock-up from Guillot. So just like yesterday, Milan wants to win the race, but in doing so has to get ahead of one of his customers. Race leaders dive down again into the stadium. There is Gerardo, and he's done it this time for 4th place, up from 8th on the grid. Goes ahead of Jerzy Spinkovic, or does he? Because Spinkovic fights back on the inside line, does go back through. Good move that. Puts him back up on the inside. Gerardo tries the outside. That doesn't work, and the door is open for Finkelstein to come back at him in the green and white car there. Alexander Finkelstein couldn't quite find a way through, so the GPA Racing entry slots back in behind us. Up front, it remains the order of Guillaume ahead of Milan, and then for GPA, Alexandre Alboy leading the Challengers Cup, getting away from Spinkovic, who's under attack, as you can see, from the ever-hard charging Anthony Gerardo, who in turn is taking with him Finkelstein and Pujay and Leo Jusset. So Marc Guillaume it is who leads the way, making his way up towards the end now of lap number 3. To the timing line they come. Alboy still leading within his class. In other words, the Challengers Cup, as down through turn 1 they go. Guillaume to Milan, 0.2 of a second this time around. That's all. But of course, so much of this depends on a toe. Anthony Gerardo goes through now in 5th place. Fastest lap to Nikola Milkovic, who is currently to be found a little bit further down in 9th place then, as the cars head into turn 2 once again. So there, number 21, Stefan Polderman leading the gentleman drivers section of the race. As up front, Milan thinks about making a move against Guillaume. In the background, Gerardo gets out of the draft of Spinkovic. Guillaume again breaks so late. He locks up, he's left the door open, scrabbles into the corner, but Nicolas Milan will go through. Gerardo has got 4th. Anthony Gerardo through into 4th place then in the blue car. So little by little, he's working his way forward as well now, as the cars once more accelerate down towards the sequence of corners that will take them into the turn 7-8 sequence. But Guillaume has managed somehow to hang on to the race lead. Through into 2nd now goes Alboy, but he goes wide. Milan tries to fight back, and behind them, as you can see, getting closer all the time is Anthony Gerardo. He is nearly up with them now. So we've got 4, nearly 5 for the race lead. This is only lap 4, 17.5 minutes give or take still to go, as once again it is Guillaume that hustles on in the race lead with a couple of lengths advantage from Alboy. Then it's Milan, then Gerardo in 4th place. David Pujay not really making progress behind in the way that he needs to here. Through the Sachs curve they come. A little bit wide there was Alboy, so that brings back into contention now Nicolas Milan. Gerardo in the largely blue car, there it is, running in 4th place. 2nd in yesterday's race, but looking for the race win if he can do it, and he's not out of the hunt yet, that's for certain. Up towards the end of lap 4 they come. As they break the beam, Marc Guillaume goes through ahead of Nicolas Milan in 2nd place. The margin between them, for what it's worth, is half a second. I tell you, it's Milan in 2nd. It's now Alboy, of course, in 2nd place. Milan is 3rd. But both of those drivers, Guillaume and Milan, out of the same team. Marc Guillaume, of course, leading the drivers that are scoring points within the European Championship and the Eastern European Championship. Alexandre Alboy now in 2nd spot. He is the leading French Championship driver, so he's on for a win there, seemingly. And now for 3rd overall, Milan has got Gerardo bearing down on him. Anthony Gerardo gets into the wheel tracks, gets a toe here, gobbles up the real estate, gets out of the draft pretty early, showed his hand maybe a bit too soon there, then goes to the outside line as Milan covers off any move on the inside. Gerardo needs the undercut coming out of the corner. The leading quartet's all bunched up, look, as you can see. 5th is Spinkovic, 6th is Finkelstein, David Pujay is there in 7th, Leo Jusset is 8th. And down towards turn 7 once more, Marc Guillaume, who's been under huge pressure race long thus far, still hangs on to the advantage. Alboy right on his tail, then it's Milan, then it's Gerardo. If anything, I reckon that leading line might just be growing a little bit, because Pujay is bringing Jusset and Nikola Milkovic and Aurélien Renet into the mix as well. So now as they head towards the stadium once more, Marc Guillaume, the race leader, with Alboy hanging on a 2nd place. There you've got Milan for 3rd. Gerardo is next up, bouncing wide over the curb. Anthony Gerardo, real firebrand, looks for the outside line against Milan, but he wants the inside line really. Coming out of the corner, Milan is on the attack against Alboy, but he's going to be in jeopardy on the outside if he's not careful. Coming into turn 16, slots back in, now lunges to the inside line. Nicolas Milan, a little brush between the two of them. Alboy hangs on to second place, Milan is still third. Gerardo and Spinkovic right with him as Alboy goes wide, possibly after that rub, and it means that Milan will go second, and right in his wheel track, Gerardo is about to go third on the inside line down towards turn 1. Then you've got Spinkovic and Finkelstein side by side. Milan and Gerardo get together. Milan gets fired out wide, hides behind the timing tower for a moment, gets back on track. Side by side for second, then up the straight towards turn 2. Gerardo on the inside line, brakes as late as he dares in the blue car, turns in and he's done it, goes ahead of Le Patron, then he moves ahead of the team boss. So Gerardo, with his elbows out, goes through into second place. And right there behind them is Finkelstein. David Pujay lost out of all of that as well, but so did Alboy, because now you've got Finkelstein, the leader, within the Challengers Cup. So a real sort-out going up through turn 1. Diving to the hairpin, another squeal of tyres, but Guillaume it is, now trying to build the lead over the opposition as Nikola Milkovic gets up the inside of David Pujay's car and gains a place. So Pujay falling down the order, he's just struggled for outright pace this weekend. But Guillaume now, thanks to all the fun and games of a lap ago, is getting away. There's more fun and games coming out of the Spitzkehrer as 21 Stefan Polderman is run wide. Now Polderman did lead the gentleman drivers section at the start of the lap. His main rival, Pierre Monmenix, I think Polderman has just hung on to the class lead though as they dive through turn 7, but there's no guarantee in Clio Cup Series of anything staying the same for 2 corners in a row. Leaders down towards the stadium again. Guillaume from Gerardo from Milan. Pujay under attack. Leo Jusset, Nikola Milkovic behind, and because Pujay goes defensive, so he starts to lose ground against the leaders. To the Sachs curve they come. There is Pujay with 13 minutes and a lap still to run. So they turn now up into the turn 16 sequence once again. Heading towards the timing line, and over the line now goes race leader Marc Guillaume. For second place, Anthony Gerardo, 1.2 seconds back now. That's the margin to monitor. I would have thought Gerardo can claw that back. Let's see how easy it's going to be for him though. More battles come pouring over the line. So there, Pierre Monmenix, he does now lead the gentleman drivers element of the race, and we've got a couple of cars, René Steenmetz being one of them, under investigation for jumping the start. So René Steenmetz, his getaway being looked at. Chen Hanlin, the Chinese Taipei driver, also under investigation for a jump start. Pierre Monmenix then leads the gentleman drivers section of the race now for GPA Racing, having taken that over from Stefan Polderman, and in fact, into second in the class has gone Fabian Frazzo. So another shuffle of positions. That was largely because of Polderman getting into trouble up at the Spitzkehrer on that previous lap. Gerardo is catching the leader, Marc Guillaume. Here, though, diving down towards the hairpin. The next little scrum involves Monmenix. Guillaume Mayo is behind, then Fabian Frazzo and Stefan Polderman in the white car, fourth in that queue. But Guillaume still leads the way from Gerardo, from Nicolas Milan. In other words, it is a Milan competition 1, 2, 3 at the moment. And Anthony Gerardo quicker by a 10th in the first sector. Milan quicker than the leader by 2 tenths. It's concertinaing again between the lead cars as they turn again into the stadium. This is going to put 7 laps in the book. And Anthony Gerardo, a driving standards flag for a dangerous manoeuvre. So Anthony Gerardo's firebrand image has not quite left him. So he's going to be given the driving standards flag for a dangerous manoeuvre at the end of the lap as the race leaders come up to turn 16. They're going through treble 7. Fabian Frazzo, the leader, however, is coming up towards the timing line as Frazzo goes into turn 16 once more. He's on the back of Guillaume Mayo, who's on the tail of Pierre Monmenix. Leaders have gone by, however, with Gerardo 8 tenths of a second back, so he is closing on the race leader. Monmenix goes through. Fabian Frazzo, his class rival within the gentleman drivers part of the race. Between the two is Guillaume Mayo. And Mayo is one of the Challengers Cup drivers, but he's a long way back from his class rivals there. As Guillot, Gerardo, Milan lead through turn 4 now onto the Parabolica. So the leaders come up to the hairpin. Into the braking zone. Again, the gaps come right down. You can see how much closer now Gerardo is to the tail of Guillot, the leader. Milan right there as well. So it's 3 for the lead once more, still with 10 minutes to go. And if these 3 start to get a bit toey amongst themselves, that might bring Jerzy Spinkovic back into the game. Now, Spinkovic has got back ahead of not only Alboy, but also Finkelstein to retake the lead of Challengers Cup now. But it's the Milan 1, 2, 3 up front. Guillot, who's led effectively since the get-go. Gerardo up from 8th on the grid, and Nicolas Milan rather ruining the wheel spin off the line that's dropped him to 3rd. Through there goes Jerzy Spinkovic. Cars come side by side for second through the Sachs curve. Milan to the outside line, just saying to Gerardo, look, I've got the pace to do this as well, you know. So Anthony Gerardo goes defensive. That just for the moment drops them off the back of Guillot. So as we saw yesterday, they're all out of the same team, but it's every man for himself then as the cars now head up to the timing line once again. Over the line go Guillot, Gerardo, Milan. That is Alexandre Alboy currently running in 5th place. Once more down towards turn 1, they all stream. So 8 tenths cover these 3. 4th is Spinkovic, in 5th is Alboy, and 6th is Finkelstein. So you've got the top 3 battling, of course, for the lead outright. The next 3 battling for the lead of the Challengers Cup. And David Pujay, best of the rest, in 7th place, but he just can't really get up with the leaders. Side by side for the lead now. Guillot and Gerardo make contact. Guillot on the inside for the hairpin, Gerardo on the outside line. He brakes as late as he dares. Marc Guillot claims the line for the corner. Guillot normally one of the cleaner drivers in this, but Gerardo tries to get up the inside into turn 7. Guillot is going to have to make that car wide, but not wide enough. Gerardo's got the line for the corner, and now he's got the race lead. Guillot, though, tries to stand his ground on the outside line. He's way up the curb. He's got the inside line for the next corner, and Marc Guillot goes back through, gets the apex, doesn't run too wide. Good driving by Marc Guillot in the white car to take back the lead of the race. The 3 leaders as one then. This enormous 12-wheel Clio comes down towards the approach to the stadium. Gerardo again makes contact with Guillot. Guillot defends. Gerardo up the inside line, breaks late, scrabbles through. Here comes Milan up the inside as well, tries to get past Guillot for second. Marc Guillot forced out wide over the curb. To the outside line comes Milan. Spinkovic is up with them as well. Now in 4th place as Milan tries to go right round the outside of Gerardo. Contact between the 2. Guillot comes back past Milan. Spinkovic gets past him as well. So Nicolas Milan drops back. Gerardo is going to lead possibly by the end of the lap, but Marc Guillot's got other ideas about it. He gets into the back of Gerardo as well. Nose to tail up towards the timing line. Spinkovic's 3rd behind them. 4th, it is Milan. 5th is Alboy. 6th, it is Finkelstein. 7th is Pujay. And Gerardo does lead over the timing line. 6 minutes and change remaining, plus the lap down towards turn 1. So a big sort out on that lap, and it's brought the order not only into a different look, but also it's brought the gaps right down. So Anthony Gerardo from, remember, 8th on the grid, now leads the way. And up to 2nd on the inside line, tries to go Jerzy Spinkovic, and he's going to do it, I think, because that tighter line gets his nose in front of Guillot, but Marc Guillot gets into the side of him. They both go wide. Here comes Milan up the inside line in the Castrol liveried car, taking Alexandre Alboy with him. 3 wide then, and Milan powers his way through on the inside to go 2nd. And Marc Guillot has had his hat well and truly nailed on here because he's gone tumbling down the order. Now they're going to be 3 abreast, 4 wide maybe up towards the hairpin. Gerardo leads Milan, but for 3rd place, let's see, shut your eyes. 3 wide into the corner. It's Alboy-ish ahead of Spinkovic-ish with Finkelstein in the green and white car on the inside. David Pujay suddenly gains ground as well as he comes up the inside of the traffic. But they're all still going. That could have been a whole lot worse, couldn't it? Alboy is 3rd. 4th, it is Finkelstein. Down to 5th is Spinkovic. Sixth is Gio. That's Spinkovic's on the inside line, and the orange and white car going back ahead of Finkelstein, but he goes wide. Finkelstein retakes the place. Pujay gets ahead of Gio. And Marc Gio has had an absolutely nightmare lap as Spinkovic has got a problem, gets into the side of Pujay. There's something broken on Spinkovic's car because the pace has gone. Didn't look like it was able to turn very effectively, like it might have a puncture or suspension damage, and it's really done bad news for Pujay, that, by being tagged by a slightly errant car. He's been badly delayed and he's lost a lot of ground, David Pujay there. Not that it was deliberate on Spinkovic's part, but if the car is hobbled, and it is clearly bad luck for Jerzy Spinkovic, having driven so well early on. So he limps onto the pit lane. Guillaume Maillot locks up, having cleared finally Pierre Monmenix, coming up to the end of the lap for him. 4 3/4 minutes to go, as the leader is still Anthony Girardot as he comes over the timing line with Nicolas Milon behind him. Now for third place this lap, the third placed car is Alexandre Alboy. Fourth going through is Alexander Finkelstein. Marc Guillot is fifth. Sixth is Nikola Milkiovic. Seventh is Leo José, and down to eighth is David Pujay. So that's this lap's shuffling. Cars now head towards turn 2. Looking further back, Guillaume Maillot is ahead of 1, 2, 3 of Pierre Monmenix, and Monmenix now under attack from Fabian Frazzo for the lead of gentlemen drivers. For the overall race lead, it's become a sort of two-way fight now. That long line of 8 of a couple of laps ago has rather opened up again, but it might not stay that way as Girardot heads Milan up to the hairpin again at the Schmitzkehrer. Side by side further back there, Leo José to the inside of Nikola Milkiovic, to the inside of David Pujay, and Pujay is the big loser out of all of that again. Pujay has not had the pace this weekend, so he only really seems to be able to make progress if others squabble ahead of him and delay things. Guillaume Maillot, the French driver, back ahead of Pierre Monmenix, coming out of the hairpin. Monmenix gets the inside line, big slide there from Jusso Pantela behind. And Pantela's orange car tries to pick up pace as Maillot fends off Monmenix down into the right-hander of turn 7. There's a yellow flag out in sector 3. We've got a car off coming up towards turn 16 as there Pantela retakes a place in the orange car on the inside line. Got a tidier run out of turn 8. And there is the retirement, and it's Jerzy Spinkovic who didn't make it to the pit lane. He has had to park it. He's a fair way off the racetrack, but sad to say, after all the promise and pace shown this weekend, it has ended as naught for him. So the race leaders then come through with 2 more laps in the time and a regulation lap still to go. We're getting jump start penalties, incidentally, being offered up. One for René Steenmetz and another jump start penalty to Léonard Viguier. Not going to affect the pointy end of the order, but just for record, Steenmetz and Viguier being given these penalties. They are 10-second penalties for jumping the start, and a black and white flag for Marc Guillot for a dangerous manoeuvre this time around. Maillot from Monmenix from Frazzo up into turn 2. Monmenix and Frazzo here, nose to tail for the lead of the gentleman drivers part of the race. Third in that is Stefan Polderman recovering. Fourth, Jeremy Bordegaray, Léonard Viguier and René Steenmetz, the 2 jump start drivers, 5th and 6th on the road, at least in the class. So the leaders turn out of the hairpin, and drama there. That was Leo José, I think, getting a tag from Thomas Picard that turns around José. That gives David Pujay a couple of places coming out of the hairpin as the field scrabbles again down towards turn 7. Into that fast right-hander they come, and there is the delayed Leo José as they come into turn 8 right now. More tire smoke as Pujay locks up. Replay here of Thomas Picard diving up the inside. Couldn't slow the car down in time, and Leo José gets a big whack in the back. Not his fault at all. He was virtually out of the corner when the missile like Thomas Picard arrived on the scene. The leaders again come into the stadium with Anthony Girardot just ahead of Nicolas Milon. As I said pre-race, Nicolas Milon knows how to win races, how to win championships in a Clio. He doesn't necessarily need to lead every lap. He just needs to be ahead right at the very end. Anthony Girardot will be decidedly nonplussed if he loses 2 races to the team boss this weekend, but it might happen because Milon is right there behind him. Nicolas needs to weigh up points the desire for wins against the customer care element of being the team principal. Down towards turn 1 they go with 0.245 of a second between them on this lap. To the braking zone for turn 2 goes Anthony Girardot. Nicolas Milon right on his tail. Now, if Girardot has got to defend from Milon, would that allow Alexandre Alboy to make up the 1 second deficit and get back up with them? The race leaders come into view. Even the back markers look on nose to tail. But for the race lead, Girardot goes one side and then the other. Milon to the outside into the Spitzkehrer. The clock has hit 0, so there's the regulation lap at the end of this. And Milon potentially will know that and realise that this is where he needs to start making a real push. Alboy running in third, a little bit slower than these two in the first sector, so not benefiting yet from the tow. Out of turn 7 they come. Milon lining himself up for a move then with a lap to run at the end of this. Anthony Girardot in the race lead. Nicolas Milon in second spot then as they come down to the stadium once more. I just wonder whether that traffic might do anything to upset the order before the end of the race on that last lap. Alboy in third, Finkelstein fourth, that's the top two as well in the Challengers Cup. Fifth is Marc Guillot trying to recover. I think Guillot will have led more laps than anybody in this race, but it's not going to do him any good in the end, having been mugged and elbowed back down the order. So the leaders are at turn 16, as you can see, with a lap to run. They go past the stricken Jerzy Spinkovic's car. That looks like Lionel Viguier's car out of the race, coming out of the Spitzkehrer, the T2CM entry. And also involved in that, as you can see, is number 31 of Jeremy Border-Garay. So the two drivers that were squabbling for fourth in the gentleman drivers section of the race have done something rather ungentlemanly. We've also got Thomas Picard being given a drive-through penalty converted to a 30-second time penalty for the move that turned around Leo Jusset. The leaders are on their last lap. It's now or never then for Nicolas Milon. He's got 4.5 kilometres to go in which to find a way past there Anthony Girardot, and if anything he's dropped back. Is this going to be Girardot's day? Let's find out then with a lap to run. That going through is Marc Guillot back ahead of Alexander Finkelstein for fourth place, and that takes some of the pressure off Alexandre Alboy, does it not, within the Challengers Cup, because he's now got a bit more of a gap between himself and his class rival there. So we've got 2 of the 3 sectors now with a yellow flag in each. The leaders come once again out of the hairpin, more tyre squeal, more of the Michelin rubber being given a hard time as they brake for the hairpin. And further back, what's going on in gentlemen drivers? It is Frazzo now ahead of Monmenix. We've had there, you can see it, the change for the class lead. Fabian Frazzo is ahead of Pierre Monmenix in gentlemen drivers. So, change for one class lead. The other, Alexandre Alboy for the challengers within the overall situation, and Anthony Girardot busy on the lights warning the traffic of his progress, and I reckon Milon has backed out of this to give Girardot a win today. He will still take points within the European element of the race, which is what he's after, and therefore for Nicolas Milon, even though it might not be a race win, he is going to be a winner of the French Championship part of the race and bag points for second within the Euro Cup, European Series, whereas a win in the Europe and Eastern European divisions will go to Anthony Girardot today as he comes out of the last corner. A good drive this, up from 8th on the grid. Honours in Clio Cup Series go to Anthony Girardot, who comes through to win race 2 of the weekend from Nicolas Milon in second place. Third to Alexandre Alboy, Marc Guillot fourth ahead of Alexander Finkelstein. 6th to Nikola Milkovic, Aurélien Ranet 7th from Andreas Stooky from a penalised Thomas Picard, who'll drop back. David Pujay only 10th on the road. And then honours in the gentleman drivers section go the way as they come across the line of Fabian Frazzo, who managed to get Guillaume Maillot between himself and Pierre Monmenix there up to the end of the race. So lively stuff, and a win for Anthony Girardot in the end by 1.2 seconds from his team boss, Nicolas Milon. So So the drivers then ready to make their way on this slowdown lap, then to Parc Fermé, ready for podiums. Very disappointed Jerzy Spinkovic. He was on the podium yesterday for 3rd overall, but today, sadly, a retirement. So overall, it was Anthony Girardot from Nicolas Milan from Alexandre Alboy. In the gentleman drivers part of the race, it was Fabian Frazzo ahead of Pierre Monmenix and then Laurent Ziadus. And as far as the Challengers Cup was concerned, Alexandre Alboy, the winner, from Alexander Finkelstein, and then Nikola Milkovic in 3rd, although Finkelstein is under investigation for an incident with Spinkovic. So all rather provisional, but this, after 14 laps, was how they came across the line. And it was Anthony Girardot from Nicolas Milan with Alexandre Alboy 3rd. Marc Guillot 4th from Alexander Finkelstein and Nikola Milkovic 6th. Aurélien Renet 7th ahead of Andreas Stooky and David Pujay. Leo Jusset 10th from Fabian Frazzo. Guillaume Maillot 12th, then Pierre Monmenix, Josep Bantila 14th, and Philip Sandstrom coming home in 15th place. '16th went the way of Jacopo Giuseppe Ximenez ahead of Laurent Ziadus, and then Chen Han Lin going better today. Benjamin Cuvas up from the back of the grid ahead of René Steenmetz. The penalty for Thomas Picard, 32nd penalty, dropping him to 21st ahead of Stefan Polderman. Michel Fay, 23rd after a spin yesterday. Franck Horn keeping out of trouble, unlike Jeremy Bordegaray, Léonard Viguier, Quinto Stefana, Henrik Seibel, Marc Florell, Jerzy Spinkovic, all of whom we lost. And Jean Lenutre and Mathieu Rugley, you can add to that list of retirements as well, because they were also drivers that did not get to the end. But Anthony Girardot will be a very happy man indeed. He takes honours then in our 2nd Clio Cup Series race of the weekend. Another good drive. Although he did get, as I've been mentioning, a driving standards flag during the course of the race. Hopefully his demeanour will be a little bit better than it was yesterday here as he steps out of the car. So well done to Anthony Girardot. Race winner in the Euro Cup last year, runner-up 2 years ago in the French Championship. But that's going to help him as well in the Eastern European Series. He was sort of a late addition to the ranks for that, thinking that was one that he might be able to win. And taking race wins as he does. Nicolas Milan, 2nd then. And for Nicolas Milan, that is 2nd place points within the European race and maximum points in the French part. So it's all smiles today between Nicolas Milan and Anthony Girardot, which is reassuring. We've also now got Fabian Frazzo under investigation for overtaking under a yellow flag. So the driver that crossed the line first in the gentleman drivers section of the race may not be the winner of the category in the end after all. There is Nicolas Milan then, after another hard race. But I know we did have a few dents and bangs, but compare driving standards in this to other one-make championships that you might see at, I don't know, British Touring Car Championship meetings, for example. It is much, much cleaner. Driving standards are looked at very closely. Driving in a dangerous manner is rapidly clamped down on. And even during the course of the race, for example, that penalty given straight away to Thomas Picard for the move on Leo Jusset. And so the drivers, if they don't want to be penalised, don't drive into each other. It's really rather simple. Anthony Girardot, the winner in the end by 1.2 seconds. He'll make his way in a few moments towards the podium. There is Anthony Girardot. Nicolas Milan and Alexandre Alboy will join him on that podium, ready for the presentations in a few moments' time. So the cars for GT4 European Series will be coming down the pit lane shortly. The Clio teams then, just the top 3 for the podium. There are multitudinous presentations in the paddock because, of course, you've got Challengers Cup, gentlemen drivers, then you've got the top 3 in the Eastern European, plus gentlemen drivers, plus challengers, plus the top 3 in Eastern Europe, and the 2 classes within that as well. So French and Eastern European Championship presentations in the paddock, the overall race situation on the podium here, but nobody in much of a hurry to go there yet. Nicolas Milon finally being encouraged in that direction. There's Anthony Girardot. He's there already, I think. Much happier today than he was yesterday. But hard scrap he had between Girardot and Marc Guillot. Let's just look at the highlights of that race. Nicolas Milon kind of undid the good work of qualifying by lots of wheel spin off the grid. Not a great start, and so he was mugged on the run to the first corner, not only by Marc Guillot, but also by Jerzy Spinkovic, who made his move up on the inside line. Drama towards the midpoint of the lap, Mathieu Rugley being one of the drivers turned around, and at the end of the lap, Alexandre Alboy way out wide as he tried to fend off the challenge of Milon, who was taking with him Anthony Girardot. Marc Guillot, early doors, looked like he got the advantage. Girardot got into the side of Milon, forced him out wide, and then made his move to go through into second place. And then he attacked Guillot for the race lead, and as they squabbled, so Milon made his move on the inside line coming into the stadium. Through he went as Thomas Picard tagged Leo Jousset into a spin, for which Picard got a 30-second penalty. It was a drive-through converted into a time penalty. Jerzy Spinkovic picked up damage. He was a retirement from the race. As the battles raged on up down the order, Justo Pantela coming through. More mayhem behind as Leonard Viguet got embroiled with Jeremy Bordegaray and others. Stefan Polderman got caught up in that as well. But Anthony Girardot keeping out of trouble today, coming through as a race winner. So now the drivers are all poised, all ready. And the top three in this second race of the weekend ready to be announced to the podium. Tariq El Said, the motorsport boss of Renault Sport, in the background. So for third place and to win the Challengers Cup, Alexandre Alboy steps forward onto the podium. For second place, the man that won yesterday's race. It's a reversal of the top two, effectively, from yesterday. Nicolas Milon, there he is, winning the French race, but second in Europe. And the winner of Europe and the winner of Eastern Europe within the race for the top step of the podium. The man that was the runner-up in both yesterday, Anthony Girardot, steps forward. And today, it'll be all smiles, one hopes, between him and Nicolas Milon. So Anthony Girardot onto the podium for Milon Competition. It is the winning team, and the drivers then now await the national anthem of the winning squad. So the trophy is about to be presented to the winning drivers and also to the winning team, Milon Competition. So there is Tariq El Said, who steps forward to hand the trophy to Alexandre Alboy. Third place, but also, of course, still to come, his Challengers Cup trophy as the winning driver there. Nicolas Milon now takes the trophy for second place. And of course, later he will get a trophy for winning the French part of the competition. And then the winner of the Europe race, the winner of the Eastern Europe race, is Anthony Girardot. So trophies to the winning drivers, to the winning team as well, to Milon Competition. So a great result today for Anthony Girardot. That brings him very much back into the mix as far as the championship is concerned. And the series, of course, continues its pan-European travels with races still to come before the end of the year in the Red Bull Ring for the European Series, then at Monza, at Paul Ricard, and it finishes at Barcelona. The next action in a week's time, indeed, at the Red Bull Ring. But for now, from Hockenheim, thanks for your company this weekend. Well done to Anthony Girardot and Nicolas Milon as our two race winners. And from David Addison at the Hockenheim Ring, it's goodbye.